What's going on YouTube, it's Jason, and today we're going to be discussing time management, but more specifically, how to find time as a busy professional. Life is just getting so busy at the moment, to the extent that if you're not someone that's proactive with their time management, you will never find time to do anything. What I'm going to do in this video is teach you how I found time to train while working a 90-hour week, and how I've helped hundreds of clients do the same also. So the focus is going to be finding time to train with a busy schedule, but the principles I'm going to list will literally apply to any goal. So the first point to consider and a question to ask yourself is, are you finding time for other things? Now, this is a really important question to kick things off. We need to first establish whether a person has time but uses that time for other things, or is so busy that they don't have time for anything. Now, most people would like to believe that they fall into the latter group. They have no time, they're so busy. But when you scrutinize their time, you realize their time goes into things like socials, Netflix, and scrolling on social media. Now, of course, no judgment, there's nothing wrong with any of these things, but if you are someone who is time poor, it would be helpful to consider how much of your time is going into these three things. One of the things I often challenge clients on to help them with their productivity is by getting them to scrutinize their screen time, i.e. how much time they spend scrolling on social media. The way to do this is by going into the settings on your phone and selecting screen time. If you're someone that's spending numerous hours per day scrolling on social media, you can definitely use some of that time for other things. And that leads me on to my next point and question: is the goal that you are working towards, or the thing that you're trying to do, a priority for you? Now, this question is probably the most important question in this entire video, and it's important to be honest about this. I've had the privilege of working with some very senior people, managing directors and CEOs of large companies. Now, some of these clients I trained are mega busy, as in working 90 hours per week most weeks, so there's no time to look after their health. Until they have a health scare and get told by the GP that if they don't change the way they're living, they're probably not going to be around in 10 years' time. And suddenly they get in touch with the likes of myself and magically find all this time to train, sometimes up to 3 times per week. So the more this kept happening and the more these clients I worked with, the more I started to ask myself, how does somebody with a 90-hour work week who's been doing the same thing for 10 years and not finding time to train suddenly find the time to train? And the answer is simple. Before their health scare, their health was lower down on their list of priorities. After their health scare, they were forced to shuffle things around and focus on their health. When their health made it into the top 2 or 3 things in their life, they started to find space in their diary. Now, please hear me, this is not a judgment, but is that thing you are working towards, losing some weight, starting a business, or looking for a new job, a priority to you? And if it is, can we evidence that in the way you use your time? The chances are, if you are talking a good game or telling people how much you want to achieve said thing, but you are constantly not finding time for it, it's probably not as important to you as you think. Moving on to the next point, intentionality and organization. Now, this is a really important point. For those of you that don't know my background, I used to work an 80 to 90 hour week for just over 6 years. I was balancing a full-time personal training business with a full-time 9-to-5 city job. Because my program was so hectic, if I didn't plan things in advance, there was absolutely no way they were getting done. Especially training, it was the easiest thing to put off when I was tired or busy. If you care enough about getting said thing done, then plan ahead. Think about work. When you want to have a one-to-one with your boss, they don't just say, oh, let's catch up at some point on Thursday afternoon. They look at your diary, they check their diary, and they put something in at a time that suits you both, in advance. Because they know life gets busy, things get in the way, and if you are not intentional, there is a very high chance you're not going to do that thing. The amount of times I hear people say, I took my stuff to work intending to go to the gym and I didn't get that session done. And the thing I say back to them is, what time are you going to the gym? You just taking your gym stuff in the hope that you might get time on lunch or you might feel like it after work is not really good enough. If you just hit and hope, chances are you're not going to do that thing. Be intentional, hold yourself to a time and stick it in the diary. The fourth point is establishing whether your busyness is seasonal or perpetual. There are genuine times in life where life is absolutely crazy, and no matter what you do, you can't find time for anything else. It's good to be honest. If you are perpetually busy, too busy to do the things that you claim are really important to you, but you're checking social media 2 or 3 times a day, and you're up to date on all the latest Netflix series, it's probably not that important to you. And the final thing is accountability. If you are working towards a goal that you are saying is really important to you, and you are constantly struggling to find time for that thing, it's really important to make your busyness objective and not just subjective. When it comes to self-scrutiny, as humans, we often aren't the best judges of character. We will explain away how busy we are and all the reasons why we couldn't do said thing for like 3 years. And going back to my corporate job, if I was ever struggling to meet deadlines and I told my boss I was busy, they would always ask to see my workload. Why? Because what they wanted to see was, is Jason subjectively busy or is he objectively busy? They wanted to scrutinize what it is I was working on and what I'm spending my time on, and if I could use my time better. If years and years are going by and you're not making progress towards your goal and you claim that thing is important to you, it may be time to get accountable. Get a second pair of eyes to objectively scrutinize how it is you're using your time and if you could use it better. So that's everything. With the pace of life and work demands, life is only going to get busier and you only have 24 hours in a day. So it's about asking yourself, how are you using that time and could you use it better? And finally, and probably most importantly, looking yourself in the mirror and asking yourself the question, is this thing I'm working towards a priority? And if so, can I evidence that in how I use my time? Hope you found that video helpful. Don't forget to like it if you did. Comment below for the algorithm. Please subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.